You are now entering the box. All right, Andrea, welcome to Inside the Box.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Andrea here is with the Village Vet in Chatham.
Mm-hmm.
How long have you been there?
I've been there 18 years.
Wow.
I started in July of 2004.
Is that the first place you ever were a vet at? Or
Kind of. I did my 4 years of veterinary school, and then I did a 1 year rotating internship after that up in Detroit, and then I came here.
Nice.
So that first year was a job, and I was working, and I was a veterinarian. But this was my first, career practice.
Nice. Are you from Springfield?
I'm not, but my husband was working for the AG's office, so that's why I came here.
There you go. How'd you pick Detroit for your? What was it called? Was it an internship? Is that what you called it?
Yeah, so veterinarians can do that if they want to. They can go on after school, and so some will do an internship and then a 3-year residency, and then there will be a specialist, like an ophthalmologist or an oncologist or a surgeon or a dermatologist. Or you can just do your internship, and then you can go start your job.
Gotcha. How'd you pick Detroit?
Well, there's a match, just like for human physicians, and that's where I matched.
I just learned about the matching thing not too long ago. We did what was that? A SAU photo booth thing or something, and they did like a match day, and I was like, I didn't know that's how this worked. so that's interesting.
I
didn't know
went
that's
to
how it
Purdue,
worked for
and then I
veterans,
matched
too.
up there, and then I came here.
Nice. That's cool. I have a neighbor / friend that's studying right now. She's going to what's Indicator? What college is Indicator?
Milligan?
Yeah, she just started college, so I don't know if that's like just she does like prereq stuff there or how that works, but yeah, that's what she wants to do.
She'll get a bachelor's degree and then she'll go to veterinary school.
Have to choose like an actual veterinary school.
Mm-hmm. There's usually only one in each state.
How long is vet school?
There's not a lot of choices. 4 years.
4 years? Mm-hmm. Okay. Interesting. And then you said you kind of have to pick like a specialty when you're going to it, like when you're doing it?
No, but you can. Like if you want to be a specialist, you have to do a residency and then take a board exam.
Oh, okay.
But most veterinarians are not specialists. Most are general practitioners like me.
Okay.
And Purdue is maybe unique in that we can track. So I track small animal. So I had to pass boards on horses and things like that, but I can't safely work on them. Like I'm not competent to work on large animals.
Interesting.
I track small animals.
What in any of your like internships or the internship or any experiences you've had, what's been like the most interesting like animal that you've had experience with, I guess? Anything weird?
Well, I mean, it's just one insane experience after another. And my degree's in accounting and information systems. So like that first day of veterinary school it was insane. But when I was an intern, I had one patient that was a chicken, and it had a laceration from a fight. And the surgeon...
A cockfight? Like that? Like literally was...
Yeah. Yeah. And so then the surgeon who was on call was like, yeah, come in through ER and Dr. Rediger will suture it up.
My gosh.
So I had to learn about how to safely anesthetize a chicken and how to recover it and how to suture it. Like how do you make stitches stick in chicken skin? And then
it's so weird to think about.
Do I use pain medication? Do they feel pain?
Right.
What kind of antibiotics so that was probably the weirdest one. But
interesting. Yeah, it's such I mean, just already like hearing what you say with the schooling and stuff like that, it's interesting how similar it is, I guess, to like going to med school or whatever. I mean, not that I know what it's like going to med school, but...
Right. I mean, I think the stakes are lower. I mean, let's be real clear. Yeah. Let's be real clear about that. And probably you're in it longer. If you're a board certified physician, I'm sure you're in it longer. Right. We're in it like 8 years max. Yeah. And then maybe if you want to be in academia, then you get a PhD or something so you can teach. But generally it's just 4 years, internship, residency, and then you're done.
Nice. So the Village Vet in Chatham, how long is that place? You said you've been there 18 years. How long has it been there?
It opened in 1996.
Wow. Okay.
I believe we were the second one in Chatham.
Okay. And I know we had a brief conversation the other day. You guys are a little different, though, out there, how you do things. Can you explain that a little bit?
Well, one, I'm by myself right now, and what I'm interested in is being like a primary care veterinarian. And a lot of that comes from my training. I was sort of trained to believe that, if you can focus on what you do well and let other people focus on what they can do well, you get really good care for animals. So that's what I want to do. And since I'm by myself, it's kind of what we have to do. And so that's what I do. We're open 5 days a week. We're not open 6 days a week like we used to be. And I don't hospitalize animals. If you need to be in the hospital, you need to go to a hospital. And I don't do surgery. I bet it was 2008 the last time I did any surgery. So I'm not interested, and I'm not going to get that skill back.
Yeah.
And I just like to help families decide, one, do you need surgery, and two, who's the best surgeon for you?
Yeah.
If you need it.
So it's kind of like comparing an urgent care to like a hospital in a way.
Right. And I think what I do is urgent care and family medicine,
Yeah.
and certainly if your pet is sick or hurt or limping or itchy or puking or whatever, you're going to get in the same day.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to see you once a year for your wellness stuff. And we're going to talk about parasites and vaccines and mobility and body weight and how to feed. But if you get hit by a bus, you need to go to the hospital. I mean, you just need to. And that's something that's tough in this area because we don't have hospital. We don't have 24-hour care in this area. You have to go to St. Louis or Champaign to get 24-hour care.
Yeah, I know my mom, she had a dog. Her dog is like super little. And something about it, she had to go to Champaign. And it was expensive. Something they had to do because it was so little. And,
right. But it's also expensive to do it here. The difference is that they live over there.
Right,
you get a diagnosis and you get
the
correct treatment, and the chances that they're going to come home and you're going to have a successful outcome are just so much higher.
Yeah, and she did. I mean, this was right after she got the dog, and the dog's she's had it for a while now. So it was an unfortunate situation but I think it's just something with it being so small, something with
I bet it had a liver shunt, but I don't know for sure.
I think that's what it was. Yeah,
Really?
I think that's what it was, something with the
small
shunt.
Is the key word.
Yeah, it was. I mean, we're talking tiny. It was a toy golden doodle, I think. So probably been crossbred a bunch to get it that small, but.
So we send a lot of people to Champaign, and also there are great places in St. Louis too.
What all kind of animals do you see there?
Dogs and cats. That's it. Just dogs and cats only.
Okay. Mm-hmm. What made you want to become a vet?
Well, I told you that my degree's in accounting and information.
So you had a switch of mind there
right?
somewhere.
So you can assume that maybe that wasn't going great.
Yeah.
And so there was a time when I just got to think like, okay, so if I could have done it differently, if I could do whatever I wanted to do, what might have been a good choice? And I remember thinking, Dr. Houghton, our family vet, when I was a bank teller, she would come through every afternoon and she would make her deposit, and she had the dog, in the car with her. And this would have been mid-90s when people didn't have the dog with them all the time,
right.
Like they do now. And I thought that might be something that would work for me because I had one, and it was important to me. And I thought, man, she gets to have her dog with her every day. That's unbelievable. And I didn't know if I could do the academic work. I didn't know what that would even entail. And it would have been 96 or 97. So I remember finding a computer down in the computer lab, and it was Netscape Navigator. Yeah. And we found Minnesota had a website. And so I could see what would it take to become a veterinarian in Minnesota, and it seemed doable. I was already on a 10 semester plan, and so it was going to be 2 more years of science prerequisites, but I was always already planning to be there for one of them.
Yeah.
So it seemed reasonable, and we thought if I could do the academic work, then probably it would be
Get past
at
that
least as reasonable as what I was trying to do, at the time.
Yeah. Well, that's cool. You had that revelation. I mean, a lot of people just, they get into what they're doing and don't take the jump to change if they realize they're not happy. You know what I mean? They just feel like they're stuck in it. And
well, the mindset of sunk costs is hard to get past, and if I had parents who were like, no, you're a senior in college, we are not going to go a different route, that would have been different.
Yeah.
But my mom's reaction was, heck yeah, what do we need to do to make it work?
Wow.
I went and I talked to an advisor in the science department who told me you will never get in. And I thought, well,
rude.
Okay, well, probably that's true though, because there was at least this mindset that it's harder to get into veterinary school than human medicine. It's totally untrue, but that's what some people had thought. So maybe she had said that was why I would never get in. But she had then since apologized to my mother for saying that to me.
Yeah.
Because it was discouraging, but.
Yeah, that is so discouraging. I hate to hear that, because I think that happens more than people probably realize. Like teachers or administrators or whatever, not instead of being like, let's give it a shot, let's go for it. You know what I mean? It's like never gonna happen.
Well, and I had shown no proficiency in the sciences at that point. So it was probably a very reasonable and responsible thing that person said to me.
Right.
But I did keep kind of working on it, and I did get in on the first try. So
well, that's awesome. Yeah, no, it's I was very lucky to kind of in high school kind of started getting into graphic design and stuff, and just realized I enjoyed it, and was able to kind of take that all the way through, and I just kept picking up the different things that I liked as far as like photography and then videography, and eventually social media came around, and it was just like, oh, all this works together here. Mm-hmm. So I was very lucky in that aspect of finding those things early on and kind of pursuing them through. So no, I hate when people are like, I have a buddy, and he's, what is he, like 40, I think? And, he's talked to me before, and he's just not happy with what he's doing. And I'm like, well, what would you want to do? Like, if you could do anything right now, what would that be? He told me, and I was like, well, here's what you should do. Keep working your job so you have money. And then after work, if that's what you really want to do, go do that for free, or do it part-time for free and learn to do that. And I was like, you still got like over half of your life left, man. Like you could make a change. I know it sucks to do it at this age, but being happy is so much more important than just being miserable at work every day.
Right. Well, I'm glad I did it, and I love working there. I think that veterinary medicine is sort of a dumpster fire right now, hurtling over a cliff. And so it's exciting to me to get to think about, like, what are some ways that we could tweak this industry to provide better patient care, but to also take better care of our staffs, and to not have this sort of massive resignation of veterinarians and associates that we're going through right now. So I think there are like structural problems in the industry or in the profession, and there are ways that it can be sort of tweaked to work a little bit better. And so that's what is working for us, and
what kind of problems would you say?
Well, you will hear that there is a shortage of veterinarians right now, and I think people can feel it in that sometimes you have to wait a long time for an appointment, especially during the pandemic. But it's not a shortage necessarily in an area like this. I think it's a distribution problem. So like Ball Chatham School District, we have 4,600 students. We had 6 veterinary clinics. Recently, we lost one, so we have 5 veterinary clinics. Most of them have more than one practitioner. We're, I think, way overserved with veterinarians, but we have trouble accommodating cases because of how spread out we are.
Gotcha.
You know, and the fact that 2 doors down from me, there's a clinic that also has an x-ray machine and also has blood analyzers and also has the same capabilities. They have more because they do surgery and stuff like that, but we don't actually need to have 5 different $100,000 x-ray machines in Chatham, Illinois.
Right.
You know, if we could work together better, we would be more efficient. We would be able to see more cases, I think. And I think that, you know, families would get better care because people who were great at things would focus on the things that they were great at. And so that's like my dream for it. And sort of trying to like work towards that by limiting what I'm doing and almost forcing people to go find someone better at the other things they need. And like you don't need a surgeon very often, right? Maybe once or twice in your life will you need surgery. So we're still doing the vast majority of everything.
That's interesting. Yeah, I never really thought of it like that, but I mean, that's exactly how. Now, I guess the weird thing with hospitals is obviously they're big corporations, so they can have the smaller urgent care style thing and then over here have the giant hospital, but it still ends up being owned by the same person.
And you have what would you call like a pediatrician? We would say a day practice.
Yeah.
But like doctor's offices. You have doctor's offices, you have urgent care, and you have hospitals. But in veterinary medicine, we have like part-time hospitals spread out all over the city, but nowhere to get 24-hour care if your pet's really critical.
Yeah.
And so like if your pet needs surgery at 3:00 in the afternoon, what's that going to look like? Is the day practice going to do it? Are they going to cancel all their afternoon appointments and do this emergency surgery? And then what is going to happen at 6:00 when they close? Is the owner going to drive this critically ill, possibly still anesthetized animal to the emergency clinic? Yes, that is the answer. I mean, that is what happens now. You drive your critically ill patient back and forth because we don't have one place where you can just be hospitalized until you're ready to get sent home. And maybe it will never happen. Maybe we're like way too small in this area. But that would be my...
Do bigger cities, is it more like that?
Of course. I mean, of course. In St. Louis, there are at least 3 24-hour places that have really good advanced care. And then there are probably 24-hour emergency clinics that don't have specialists too. So we just don't have that locally. But we have daytime emergency right now, and we have nighttime emergency, and then we have all the various day practices / part-time hospitals.
Yeah.
It's just that the day emergency and the nighttime emergency are not in the same location.
Interesting.
So you drive back and forth.
Is there any kind of like local associations or anything, or is it more of like national association? I just know that a lot of times industries have like their,
Sure. I mean, we have the ISVMA, which is statewide, and it is based in Springfield because this is the capital.
Oh, okay.
I don't actually know if we have like a Sangamon County. I think I would have heard about it by now, but I don't think that we do.
I'm just curious of like, it seems like a reasonable thing because they would, they, like you said, they could focus on surgeries and stuff, and then the smaller primary stuff wouldn't bog them down, so they would be open for those. Do you think it has to do more with like there's not enough surgeries happening that they can like be full-time doing just like surgery type stuff? Or
I think it's more like this is how it's always been, and maybe veterinarians like to get to see the variety.
Right.
They would think that what I do, which is like diarrhea and limping and sores and vaccines is too boring, and so they would like to have the variety.
Gotcha. No, I definitely see where you're coming from with that. It's an interesting concept. It seems like that would be something that they would be more a structure that would be more, I guess, prominent. What word I'm looking for there?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, and like because of how it is usually how it used to be, where you would have like a practice owner and you would have associates. It's hard to consolidate.
Yeah.
And like me, I still have student loans. I'm not going to buy practice. I'm not even going to buy my own practice, much less, multiple ones.
Right.
And,
Damn student
kind
loans.
of put
Keep you
them
locked
together.
down forever.
Well, man, and I thought I was going to have them wiped out, but no, because Navient owns them instead of the government, even though they were federal Stafford loans.
Of course.
That was a disappointing day.
Yeah, that's frustrating. Seems like it always some sort of loophole that screws you when it comes to stuff like that. We kind of got shafted on the whole PPP stuff just because how like I hadn't been paying myself for like the first like 3 years or whatever, and like I hadn't like been officially paying myself like by a paycheck, mm-hmm. So there wasn't really like record of that pay, so then therefore I couldn't cover my pay during the pandemic. We got some money to cover like my team, mm-hmm. but I kind of got shafted with that whole thing. It's like, God, man, there's always some loophole that screws you with stuff like this.
Yeah. I mean, I get why they did it. They needed to preserve the program for everybody.
Yeah.
But man, there's a few of us, like 80,000 of us, who got carved out right at the last minute.
That's tough. How were things during the pandemic? Did you guys were you able to stay open because it's a needed service and everything?
Yeah. So we ran 2 doctors, and I wasn't one of them. So I was home for a few months learning how to repair drywall. And we had basically 2 teams, so a doctor in their team and a doctor in their team, and they did not cross paths.
Gotcha.
And we were working in the parking lot, so families weren't coming in. Dogs would come in, and cats would be brought in. But the family would stay out in the car. And,
yeah.
And I think that was extremely stressful for families and for pets and for practitioners, and it's probably why it seems like lots are resigning now, or they're leaving being an associate or an owner, and they're becoming relief veterinarians, where you just set your own schedule and work wherever you're needed when you want to work.
Huh.
But you're not associated with one particular place.
Okay, interesting. You think part of that's just taking some of the stress of the business overall out of it? I know there's a lot that comes along, just this place alone, I used to get to create so much and do the graphics and video stuff so much, and then now it seems like I'm always just caught up in the business side of it, which is frustrating.
Sure. And maybe veterinary medicine selects for people who are particularly poorly adapted to that kind of work. I have an accounting degree, and I still think we need an accountant. Clearly I can't do that work for our practice. And like the HR stuff, and have some frustration tolerance issues with technology. And it's those things. It's when my patients are having trouble getting their meds picked up from the pharmacy. I can't fix that, but it's hugely frustrating.
Right.
I want to be in the exam room. That's where I do my work. But yeah, there are the other things are the challenge.
How big's your team over there?
I have 2 receptionists and 3 technicians and a practice manager and me.
Awesome. And you've been there for a long time, so I'm sure you've got a pretty seen a lot of families' pets. So you got a pretty loyal following, I guess you could say, of
and
clients.
And we see them from birth to death.
Yeah, dogs and cats are so weird because they're in your life long enough to just become so attached to them, but just never, none
Too
of,
short.
yeah, they just don't live as long as you. It's such a weird relationship, I guess, that you have with them. But a part of me kind of thinks that, part of that was they were put just to help you learn to kind of cope with death a little bit. Is that a weird thing have you ever heard that before or thought about that? Like, I feel like that, you know what I mean? You get so close to them. Like, I mean, you guys probably hear my dog whining at the door right now. She's been with me since right before, I guess right when I started this business, and she came to work with me every day, especially early on. When I was working at home, she was with me all day, and then came to the studio with me every day. And, I have a great, close relationship with my dog. It's like one of my kids. And I'm going to be heartbroken when she dies, man.
I remember, like, there was a time when I had clients who were about my age, and we were sort of young professionals, and we'd been through graduate school, and these dogs had been with us for that whole thing.
Yeah.
And maybe we'd had these dogs longer than we'd had our partner at the time, and it was a catastrophic loss for just a lot of maybe young women in their early 30s who were losing the pet that had gone to grad school with them.
Yeah.
And people tell me all the time that losing their pet was harder than losing certain family members or things like that. It's a hard thing.
How is that from a vet perspective? I mean, you essentially probably build somewhat a relationship with these pets to an extent. I mean, definitely not like the owners, but like, I mean, geez, you got to see. I'd never even thought of that before. Sure. Like how many you see come and go. It's not like a child, like when you're a doctor and you have, you're seeing a kid.
Yes. So it's probably the most important thing that I do on a day that we lose a dog or a cat. It's probably the most important thing I had done that day. And so to me, it's like a privilege, and it's actually one of my favorite things to do because it feels like I'm helping this family in a way that no other person could have done at the time. I sometimes, like, getting to the point of making that decision, that's the hard part of my relationship with that family. But then once we get there, doing the work, and maybe it even suits me. When I was in college, before I chose a major, I did this skills inventory, that all the kids do, and funeral director was the number one thing that came up on my skills inventory.
Really?
And accountant was number 2, which is why I did it, because you couldn't go to
like
Taylor.
I don't want to be a funeral
director.
director.
But like,
I guess we'll do
how do you
accounting.
even do it? I probably should have put 30 seconds of thought into it. Like, why would this have shown up? Like, what is it about me that would make this show up?
Interesting.
But it feels like that's a lot of what I do. I'm shepherding people through this process, and it's a privilege to be able to do it. Huh. And I know it's tough for them.
It's an important thing. So that's, I've never really thought about that from a vet perspective. If you look at
but it's not the hardest part.
Yeah. What's the hardest part? Set yourself up for that one.
Well, for me, the hardest part is face blindness, and that I don't recognize the families that are coming in to see me. That is very much the hardest part. But the second hardest part is probably that they can't tell me what's going on with them. So we're guessing, and we're trying to build a case. And even if I am so fortunate as to get a diagnosis with diagnostic testing or my physical exam, that doesn't even mean it's the thing, that's causing the actual problem.
Right.
So it's a puzzle, and that's the challenge.
Yeah.
Is the uncertainty of trying to work without a definitive diagnosis. That's the challenge.
Yeah, trying to I know I'm terrible at giving data to the doctor when I go to the doctor. It's like, right. What medicines are you taking? I'm like, you guys just have that on there, don't you? Just pull that up.
Sure. Well, for me, like, I am watching them so close when they're in my exam room. That is my time to look for the really, really subtle things that maybe the family hasn't even seen yet. And it's also how I kind of stay safe. I'm watching them to see how nervous they are and how likely they are to hurt me.
Yeah. How was the? I don't know if this is a weird subject. We could stray away from it if we want to, but like during COVID, like pets getting COVID, was that like? Were you guys testing for that? Was that like a
I
thing?
have not tested any animals for COVID. The test was something like $400, but there are many, many that I thought that I lost to it.
Really? Okay. Interesting.
And it just seemed like cats were getting sick in numbers that I had never seen before, catastrophically ill.
More than
And
dogs?
yes, more than dogs. I mean, I think I was losing cats to it, whereas maybe dogs had got a mild upper respiratory infection and nobody even noticed it really, but cats were dying
Really?
in
Wow.
the same family, like multiple cats in one family. Just fairly awful.
That's interesting. Do another weird question. Do you see? I know you said multiple cats in one family. Does it seem like if somebody has a cat, they usually have multiple cats? I feel like every time I meet someone that has a cat, they have at least two.
Maybe.
I don't know where this question came from.
I think like the more cats you have, the more likely you are to have problems, which means I'm going to be involved, in your situation more. So
Doesn't Josh have like 5 or something?
So that is 3 cats too many.
Yeah. That's funny. Yeah, I've never really thought about that until you just said that. But
well, we just went through. My staff just went through training, and I went through training to become certified cat friendly for our practice. And a huge part of that is recognizing that cats are not small dogs. They have certain environmental needs, and if we are not meeting them, it can manifest in either behavioral problems or medical problems, and that there's a lot of overlap between those two things. And that it matters. It matters how we keep them in our homes.
yeah,
I don't think cats are perfectly suited for indoor living.
Right.
We keep them because they're more suited than like bears or rodents, but they have a lot of environmental needs that we tend to think you don't have to worry about, like
instincts.
territories and how a cat should be fed and what sort of like smell tolerance they might have and what
More so than dogs.
absolutely
Yeah.
exponentially more.
It's interesting. Yeah, sometimes cats freak me out. Like we had a cat growing up, but sometimes they're just like I've had a cat just like perfectly fine, just go crazy all of a sudden, like scratch the shit out of me.
Oh, I mean,
It's
I
like-
love cats. I love cats.
Yeah, I think they're super cool. I love watching them. Like it's cool to climb on stuff. I love all the little things you can get for them, and he'll like hang out by the window and stuff.
But
like
those
that.
things are
It's
very
like-
important for that cat's well-being.
Yeah.
And if you're not going to let your cat outside and you don't give them the perches and the window access, they just don't thrive.
Yeah, I can see that. My cousins in Maine, they used to have this giant cage out back, and they had 2 huge Mancoon cats. Huge. I mean, they're like little tigers or something, man. I was like, those things I don't want to mess with those things. Have you ever seen anyone around here with one of those?
I think we do see some Maine Coons. Yeah, for sure.
Man, these things were crazy. But they had a great, it was a huge outside, so they could have them inside, and then they would take them out there, and they could, it was like something you'd see at the zoo or something. You know what I mean? It was nuts.
Yeah. And I just let mine go outside. So he plans his day, and
Yeah.
he
Always comes
has
back.
a schedule, always comes back.
Oh.
Yes.
Seems like they do if you they come back to where they can get food, right? Why not?
Right. So Cheryl Strayed, she's an author. She tweeted one time, she had a question, like her daughter wanted a kitten, and should she get this kitten? It would be their 3rd cat. And so I tweeted back, like, no, you should not get a 3rd cat, and I would like to start a hotline for people to call so that I can talk them out of getting that 3rd cat. And
Three is just too many.
I just think it doesn't always go very well. And so that started some fun, Twitter discussion back and forth about like
2 seems all right though.
Well, It's going to
typically?
depend. I mean, I don't think that cats are very good about talking about their feelings. So it may be that those two cats, they have an arrangement and they tolerate each other, but they are not friends by any means.
Yeah.
And so if you put one more in there, they're going to start peeing behind the couch. Or
is it easier if you have them? Like, what if you get them all as kittens together?
Absolutely. You get two kittens, and then 20 years later,
go together.
Two kittens, a sibling pair. Yeah. My kids know. Don't even ask me anymore.
Why do you think that is? Like, because they're like a pack at that point. They grow up together. They know.
Well, cats are
just have an understanding.
Cats are solitary hunters, but they are also social, and so if the cat is part of its social group, they're going to have separate territories, but they can still sort of overlap. Yeah. It's going to work okay. But when you add one in there and sort of force them to shuffle their territories, it often goes fine, and so people like to tell me all the stories about how it's fine and how I'm wrong. But I see it when it's not going fine, when they have GI problems and skin problems and they're peeing everywhere. And families feel a lot of tension and stress over that peeing thing because they're peeing in their home. That's like your major asset.
Yeah, and it's hard to get rid of that.
But you feel like you're going to keep this cat. I mean, this is your family.
Right. How about I don't know where I'm coming up with these weird questions. Have any of your clients ever taught their cats to go to the bathroom on the toilet?
I have heard of that. Yes. I couldn't point to one of them in particular.
I've seen that. I was like, man, that's pretty funny that you could actually teach your cat to do that.
I bought the thing. I just never did the training.
Yeah.
And I sent it to the Goodwill.
When I first got my dog, I had like a book. It was like 1,001 tricks. And I was like, all right, I'm going to go through this. And then eventually I was like, all right, I just want my dog to be able to roll over. Never had a dog that could roll over. So I got her to that point and I was happy. I was like, all right, we're good.
Yeah.
How about, do you feel like you can like train cats? Like to do stuff?
I think that they're like habitual, or they get into a routine. So what might feel like training is often routine, or like they're smart and maybe rewarding behaviors, which will then like increase the frequency of them.
Yeah. Like I know I was one of my buddy's cats would always fetch for me, just go get the ball and bring it back to you, which was kind of weird. Sure. I'd never seen that with a cat before.
And some will act like dogs, and families always remark, like, this one acts more like a dog. We really love that about them.
What kind of cats do you have? You said you have two or one?
Oh, no, I have one cat. I have a yellow cat who's probably 4 or 5 years old. And he was just found by my children who knew they were not allowed to have a cat, but he lives with us now. He's the best, coolest cat.
My buddy got a cat a while back, and this thing, he paid a lot for it, so I don't know what the kind is, but it looks like it has the same like color pattern as like a tiger. It's a beautiful cat, but he paid like, I don't even know, it was a lot of money, thousands of dollars.
Wow.
And it was, I don't know, he got big into cats all of a sudden.
Well, I went with my daughter to see Puss in Boots over the weekend at the movie theater. The
newer one?
I think so.
Yeah.
I mean,
it was pretty good. I watched it with the kids.
Yeah, and so like I slept for maybe the first 20 minutes or so, but then I woke up and I had been so tired, but I woke up and it was like, that's my cat on the screen right now. The colors were exactly like it. And but he was singing like and dancing and wearing boots and stuff. But I thought, I wonder if this is what it's like to be high, because I've never in my life been high, but like that's my cat on that screen, and it's like he has a career in the arts,
dancing,
and he's made a movie.
You just gotta get some little boots for your cat.
I know, but it was like so crazy because the resemblance was. It kind of blew my mind, and I thought, this is like what ayahuasca must be like.
Waking up to your cat dancing in front of you.
Right, like his voice in my head is not Hispanic accent, but
that's pretty. It was a pretty good little movie. Yeah. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I always try to find like because my kid will just get, my older son, he'll get stuck like watching one show and he just wants to keep watching that over and over. So then I'll like find something that like a movie or something to switch it up, or something that I might like actually enjoy watching. And he's like, no, Daddy, I don't like that. I don't like that. And then I'll get it on and then he's like, oh, I love this, Daddy. It's just got to get him into it for a second. But yeah, we did that
Right.
Puss in Boots like, I don't know, a couple weeks ago when it came out.
Well, you know, there's the black cat in it, and then there's the chef. I'm blanking on his name, but like the fat main chef. And those characters, I didn't see those
There's that
introduced.
little dog that
So-
like acts like a
Oh,
cat.
yeah,
Is that the
yeah.
one you watched?
But like, I woke up from my nap in the movie theater, and there were these new characters that
Came out of nowhere.
That came out of nowhere, and also that was my cat up there dancing.
That's
But,
hilarious.
no, that was pretty funny.
That's awesome. So what? So what's next? What do you? How are we going to achieve this goal? How are you going to? I feel like you have to get like an association together, like a local one, to discuss this and see if other people have these thoughts. You
Well,
know?
I mean, what I think I need is that veterinarians make way more money doing surgery than they do doing the stuff that I do. So we have some around here who are amazing at surgery, and so I try to send all my cases there. I feel sort of awkward saying you should go to this clinic compared to that clinic because they're all fine and good, you know. So I have not taken the step of saying I only refer to blah blah blah, you know.
Right.
But I guess my hope is that one of them will be like, I love doing surgery and I'm really good at it. You know, I'm fast at it. And I would much rather do that than see itchy dogs or ear infections or diarrhea. And so maybe I will send her my diarrhea cases, you know, and I will see her high dollar surgery cases, and we'll all live happily ever after.
Yeah.
But I'm not great at like starting that conversation
Right.
with people, and
It can probably be an awkward thing.
And also, I definitely feel like it's a burden that it places on other clinics for me to not do my own surgeries. So my families have to go find somebody else to do it. And maybe
But it's good
maybe they
that-
have sort of the same challenges with staffing. You know, maybe they can't handle one more.
Yeah. But it's good that you have the self-awareness that you're just like, know that that's not something you want to specialize in. You know what I mean?
Like surgery?
Yeah.
I mean, I got sequential processing problems, motor dexterity problems. I mean, like, it's not for me. It's
Yeah.
not safe. I'll hurt your pet. So
Yeah.
you can be disappointed in me, but
Yeah.
you don't want me cutting your pet.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's good that, like I said, it's good you have the self-awareness that you're like, this is not something that I want to specialize in or think I should.
Absolutely.
But you still have your place. I mean,
Yeah,
essentially,
yeah.
yeah. That's cool. So what's the best way for people to find you? What do you do? Website?
Well, I mean, yes, we have a website, thevillageveterinarian.com. It's a terrible website because it's so many syllables and so many words to have to type in there. But that's the one we have. And then we're on
But if
Facebook.
you just search
We're like-
Village Vet Chatham.
Yeah, I mean, we should come up there. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Facebook.
Where at in Chatham?
We're in Main Plaza. We are next to the Alamo,
Okay.
and that's where we've been all the time. Across from
Alamo.
UCB. Yeah.
How long? You said it opened when?
96.
96. You've been there 18 years. That's crazy.
I don't
long
feel like
time.
I'm old enough to have
You
been
don't
there.
look like you're old enough to
I'm
be there 18 years.
47 though, so
Well, yeah. That's awesome that you've been, again, I think it's a great story that you realized you weren't going to be happy with what you're doing and had the awareness to switch and kind of go into something that you thought you were going to be much happier and
the overwhelming privilege. I mean, let's be real about that. You know, what an opportunity to get to switch.
yeah. No, that's definitely a tough thing. But it sounds like in general you have pretty good self-awareness. I mean, you had the awareness there to switch, and you have the awareness that you don't want to do surgery. So
I think I am an extremely self-aware person.
Yeah, that's
and
great.
spend
A lot of people
lot
aren't,
of time
you know?
on self-reflection and perseveration and rumination.
that's good.
Worry.
People should spend more time on that.
No.
I was listening to this one thing, and they were talking about how, what they say, like once a year you should just do like a check on yourself. Like, am I happy? What am I doing? Am I happy with my job? Am I happy? You know what I mean? And just really think about it and like, do I need to make a change right now? You know what I'm saying? And
Sure.
at least, you know, I think about stuff like that all the time, but probably more than I should, just because not my job. Obviously, I like my job and stuff like that. But you know, with the business, like, is what we're doing right now? Do we need to make a change? Do we, you know what I mean? And just trying to perfect things and ultimately do better for the client. You know, I mean, just like you're trying to do with what you're talking about, kind of the way trying to look at organizing things.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, definitely appreciate you coming on today.
Yeah, it was great.
It was great
Thank
hearing
you.
your story, and it's an interesting thought. I had never thought about a situation like that, but it seems real, like it should. I don't know, like maybe it should be like that, but it just seems so
I think it's not
hard,
rocket
like,
science. I mean, and
No.
anybody I talk to is like, duh, that's how it should be. It's just that that's not how we had it set up from the beginning.
Right.
And
now it's hard to,
how do you transition that? And then
without having like one person owning it all, like it seems like it would be
Right.
hard to.
and it used to be all men doing it, right? And we have transitioned very quickly to now it's 66% female who are doing it.
Wow.
And so it needs to happen a different way.
Yeah.
We have huge problems with suicide, you know, in our profession. And we
Really?
need to fix it so that it works
Why do you
for
think that
working
is?
families. One, it doesn't work for working families. Two, you take on a lot of emotional from clients. You know, it kind of comes at you,
From
and you have
the
to
animals
absorb it.
passing and the people
Yeah,
dealing with it and
absolutely. Sometimes it's not the medicine that's so hard; it's the financial constraints that add a layer, you know, of stress and tension, and probably. You know, probably we're all introverts. You know, probably we're exhausted by the end of the day by seeing appointments and
stuff. Yeah. No, I understand for sure. I that's crazy. I had no idea that there was higher suicide rates in that profession.
but I think it's fixable, you know, and we have a trend towards corporate ownership of practices. I think like 25% are corporately owned right now, which does things as far as economies of scale for purchasing and HR and IT and all that stuff, but also scheduling, you know, so that you know, we're not seeing call, you know, no, I'm not getting called at 2 a.m. We're not doing C-sections in the middle of the night like,
Yeah.
you know, we used to do. But for what I want to do, primary care, it doesn't lend itself to like shift work. You know, my work is a relationship with a family.
Yeah.
It's not working the shift, and you know,
Being
but
done.
you have to have that. You know, you have to have the working the shifts at the emergency clinic. That has to be available for people.
Yeah.
We just need to, I think, set it up differently.
Yeah.
Because associates are leaving, you know, practices, and it's impossible to hire. I think we've had a job posted since like 2020, and
Really?
I could have told you in 2004 that no new graduate's going to come, you know, to my little practice. So, like, what can it look like?
Yeah.
How do we fix it?
Interesting. Yeah, I don't know the answer to that.
I got tons of ideas.
Someone out here will
like-
contact you, and you guys can get the ball rolling on this.
Yeah, I have tons of ideas, but not the capital or the, you know,
Yeah.
authority to.
Well,
to
then
sort of
maybe
set
maybe
it
this
up,
is the tipping point. Maybe somebody will see it and they're ready to help make some moves.
Or at least just say, I'll see all your surgeries. I'd love to fix all those for you. Do all my dental cases.
There you go. All right, Andrea, anything else you want to share with everybody? Good.
I don't think so. Thanks for the opportunity.
Yeah, thanks for coming on.
enjoyed
Check her
meeting
out, Village Vet in Chatham. And I think that's pretty much it. Stay tuned. We have a episode of our new Creative Convo series coming up where we are going to dissect the creation of our Super Bowl commercial. So stay tuned for that. Thanks, everybody.